Welcome everyone, and thanks very much for joining today's ICEF webinar titled The Formula to Success: Enhancing the International Education Journey. Now, a formula to success sounds quite promising, so I'm sure that the expectations for this webinar are quite high. We won't disappoint you. Well, that's because I'm in very good company, and I'm looking forward to introducing our three experienced and savvy guest speakers today, tuning in from Ottawa, Saigon, and Connecticut, all over the world, just like yourselves. But allow me to first explain how this 60-minute webinar is structured. So first of all, we will start with a proper introduction of today's topic and of the speakers. And after that, this webinar is divided into 3 segments. Each segment will start with a poll because, of course, we value your opinion and it will help drive the conversation. After the poll, we will show a brief sponsor video, and after that video, we will show the poll results, which we will then use to start the conversation with our panelists. And that times 3, so 3 times poll, video, poll results, and conversation. And then after these 3 segments, we will have a 10-minute live Q&A section. So during the entire webinar, we encourage you to share your questions with us through the Q&A button in the bottom of your screen, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible in that live Q&A section towards the end of this webinar. Lastly, I'm holding a pen myself because I enjoy that, but I would like to mention that there is no need to make any notes. This webinar is being recorded, and within the next few days, you will all receive a link to this recording in your inbox. Good. It's starting to feel a little bit lonely here, so it's about time to introduce our experts. Today's guest speakers: Courtney Gillan, Global Business Development Advisor at Educate Online. Hi, Courtney, live from Saigon.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Laurie Lin, Director and Principal, CHI Global School in Ottawa.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, Laurie. And David Charron, co-founder of Powerful Youth, all the way in Connecticut. Welcome, David.
Hi, everyone.
Wonderful to have you. And my name is Martijn van Veen. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer here at ICEF. So Courtney, Laurie, and David, there is a wonderful promo video of each of your organizations included in this webinar, but we would, of course, love a brief introduction of yourself, your role, your background, but especially your affinity with today's topic. And if I can start with you, Courtney.
You can. You may.
Well,
I'm Courtney Gillan, and I am the Global Business Development Advisor for Educate Online. And so Educate Online is very passionate about this topic, about creating a holistic experience for students. And that's right from throughout the journey. We go right from 4 years old up to 25. And so trying to give students the best possible academic experience, social and emotional learning experience, and preparing them for university and the world. I've been in international education now for 22 years. I've had the great pleasure to work with both Laurie and Dave. So I know that everyone will have a wonderful chat today, and especially being moderated and interviewed by Martijn. So thank you for having us here.
So get ready, Courtney. Well, 22 years of international education, that means you started very, very young. Laurie, over to you.
Hi, my name is Laurie Lavallee, and I am the Principal and Director of CHI Global School in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. We have a global school that partners with international schools worldwide so they can offer the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. And we also have a campus here in Ottawa, Ontario, where students could come in person. I've been in education for 25 years, and I've been working in online education for actually since 2002, which seems like a very long time since really online education has just come into the forefront in recent years. But I've always had a great interest in it, a great passion for it. And I worked for many years writing courses for the ministry in Canada, reviewing courses for the ministry, and then helping large school boards start up, and then eventually doing my own. And I I'm passionate about it being an excellent experience for students and meeting their learning style needs and making it as much like a in-life experience as possible. And because I believe that's what makes it successful.
That's a very good approach, I would say, Laurie. Thanks for that introduction. And David, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Charron, the Director of Impact and also co-founder for Powerful Youth, which is a social enterprise that works around the world doing youth leadership education. Not just that, but we incorporate custom programs in schools all around the world, doing hands-on experience-based and project-based learning around leadership and soft skills development. We also run our own Global Leadership Academy, which are 2- and 3-week intensive programs in Canada, in the UK, bringing in students from 18 countries all across the world, all based on leadership and practice, not just talking the talk, but really turning your passions into a purpose for change. And passion, purpose, change is our motto. We were founded in 2014. So I'm going to say 20 plus years working in the education, higher education, workforce development field. So I'm in good company.
As am I. I'm in great company. And I told everyone we have a great panel, and altogether nearly 70 years of experience in the industry. So I think we can get started on this topic. So as I'd mentioned, our title for today is The Formula to Success, Enhancing the International Education Journey. In the current global landscape, enhancing the formula for international student success requires an update of the conventional education experience and degree. So together, Courtney, Laurie, David, and I will explore a range of programs and activities that are accessible locally, internationally, and online. Programs, activities that cater to students from diverse backgrounds and regions and age groups. These opportunities, they cultivate skill sets, they stimulate creative thought, and they establish enduring global network, as such enriching a student's international education journey. The outcome is, and listen carefully, a well-rounded individual equipped to navigate the complexities and prospects of our interlinked and rapidly evolving technological society. I'll rephrase it in a few different words. The outcome of these programs activities is a person who has a wide range of skills and knowledge to handle the challenges and opportunities of our fast changing and highly technological society. Or just in 4 words, the formula to success. And that formula is what we are going to dive into in those 3 segments. And as promised, we will start with a poll. And here is your first one. A recent Harvard Business Review article emphasized that as the impact of AI and disruptive technology grows, candidates who can perform tasks that machines cannot are becoming more valuable. Do you agree with that, right? So I'll rephrase, with AI and advanced technology becoming more powerful, candidates who can perform tasks that machines cannot are becoming even more valuable. Well, as whilst the audience is responding to this poll as promised, I'd like to move to our first promo video, and that one is by Educate Online. And here it is. Well, Courtney, that's a wide portfolio of programs and opportunities to be proud of. A lot of information in that video. Thanks for that. Anything you'd like to specifically highlight before we move to the poll results?
I will actually, because from that video, since we've done that video, we've actually extended into post-secondary studies. So we're doing a lot more with students to create that, like I said, that full experience from ages 4 to 25. And so we'll be distributing more information on that soon, but we're very excited.
Needs an upgrade, Courtney.
Yes.
And where can they contact you and or Educate Online in general?
They can contact, so if it's agents, just agents@educateonline.org. And I think you put them at the end of the video. Is that correct? Do you put the information at the end? Can't remember if you do or not. But agents@education-online.org. Or you can find me just at Courtney Gillan on LinkedIn, and I'll get you sorted out.
And if that doesn't work, you can email us via communications@icef.com, and we'll put you in contact with Courtney. Thanks very much. Well, let's look at the poll results. Quite curious to see what the outcome is. And as you can tell, 88% of our audience agrees that if you have skills that a machine cannot learn, and of course that makes you more valuable. Nothing to be surprised about in this case, right, Courtney?
Nothing to be surprised about. I know that everyone's kind of dove into the world of ChatGPT and other things that are coming about. And what we're seeing is that all of the content it's creating is exactly the same, almost the same structure, the same words. And so, of course, for those small things, we need people. But I think as, some of the digital jobs are taken away, things like counseling and, making sure that students are supported and happy is going to be human-based. It's not going to be done through the computer.
Right, and human-based also often involve emotions and soft skills, correct?
That's right. That's right. And I think we're going to talk a lot about the soft skills today, and how those can be developed both through online and in-person programs. I think there's, varying soft skills that we have, from communication to problem solving, that can be emphasized in both sectors. So we'll look at that.
Well, like the Harvard Business Review study, many employers are putting greater emphasis on soft skill development. Courtney, what are some of the key soft skills, and in what ways can these skills be learned at the high school and college level?
Yeah, I think, some of the key ones would be, I think communication's probably number one nowadays. I know a lot of kids, even if they're not studying online and studying kind of in person, are spending a lot of time on their devices and may not know how to communicate quite as well as time management. One of the things I love about the online space is that we really emphasize time management for students. It's not like they can just kind of drag themselves and follow their peers to class. They really need to be making a plan on their own, and with the support of Educate Online or Lori at her school. We work very closely with Kai to make sure that students are kind of using those time management skills. And of course, other things, analytical skills, computer skills, so on.
But how is the online approach important to learn these soft skills? Aren't these students supposed to meet the other students face to face and interact with them? And I'm sure you'll say that that's very possible also online.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's very possible online. I think that, a hybrid approach is also excellent for students. We're not expecting families and kids to completely replace in-person learning. But I think that what we're going to talk about today is how we can create that whole kind of strategy for success, and how that includes both in-person complements as well as online complements.
Thank you. You mentioned a great point there, replace, right? I'm sure you'll agree as well that online learning definitely is not there to replace anything, right? It's actually there to enhance and complement. And I see you nodding, Lori.
My goal for many years is to make sure that it complements, and that we are integrating different avenues for students to interact with each other, show their creativity and innovation, things like joining the Wharton School of Business Investment Challenge. And so they are able to join with many of our students worldwide. And there's just so many ways that you can make it interactive. And these skills that the students will learn is really invaluable for them once they go to university. especially in the ever-changing world of university right now, where more and more are getting online as part of their curriculum content.
Right. So it's really a great and very valuable add-on, right, David?
No, absolutely. I mean, soft skills, there's tons of research, not just in the business realm, but otherwise, that show that, regardless of what you know, technically or academically, that your ability, your interpersonal skills, your critical decision-making, your emotional intelligence, right, your ability to manage your own emotions and others is immensely impactful in what your career and or like school trajectory is going to look like. So absolutely.
Wonderful. And you would argue that this is that formula to success, right? These are the elements that enhance that international education journey, David.
I think it's a part of a larger portfolio for success. I think we all are looking for silver bullets, but I think all of us working in education for so long, we know that it's sort of a constellation of answers, and that's where online can meet with in person, can meet with hybrid, and that the formula for success is more of a recipe versus a silver bullet.
Right. Well, Courtney, allow me to play the devil's advocate here. As mentioned at the start of the webinar, in the current global landscape, enhancing the formula for international student success requires an upgrade of the conventional education experience and degree. And that almost sounds like an international education itself it's of the quote, conventional education experience and degree is not enough anymore. Shouldn't these so-called conventional institutions, education providers, enhance and modernize their own programs and their learning experience rather than students having to upgrade their own education with new extracurricular programs and projects? I mean, the entire study abroad journey is already such a major investment for many families, and I'm not sure if adding extracurricular programs is that realistic if we live in a world of inflation and affordability challenges.
Yes, absolutely. I think first to touch on the inflation and affordability challenges, one of the nice things about an online education is that it is quite a bit more affordable than an in-person conventional education. So I'll mention that first and foremost. But also a lot of the conventional programs, I think, just coming from Canada and the US, a lot do have some cutbacks in the government system. Inflation increases. There is some sort of, like you said, affordability crisis, and some things do get cut back. So I don't think it's possible for all conventional schools to do all things. And there are programs that can do that recipe or that formula of success that don't cost money. Students doing volunteer work or getting involved in online programs or camps or extracurriculars that they can do for free. There's one that we've just put on LinkedIn, which is almost essentially free. It's $15. And Uber is doing a hackathon. And so it's open to teenagers around the world. It's a small cost, but they are issuing scholarships, and it's great for students just to put on their portfolio, and it just gives them a little bit more of a global experience. So I think, yeah.
Interesting. I'd like to ask the same question to Laurie and David. I'll start with you, David. Isn't it the responsibility of the education providers to be in touch with what the employment market needs, what companies need, and therefore adjust their program to add those well-needed soft skills, regardless of the fact whether that would be in person or online?
Yeah, I mean, of course, to any level, and having worked in higher education for so long, these are absolutely conversations that every higher education institution is having, which is, what are we doing in terms of experience-based learning, preparation for the future, not just gaining knowledge. But the question becomes too, there's only so much any one institution or organization can do, right? And so if you're hoping for that one school, that one experience to sort of set it and forget it, that's few and far between, and I don't even know that exists. But I think there's different things for different investments for different things. And so if we're talking about how important soft skills development is, oftentimes, many people find out that they need these soft skills kind of too late, like when they need them. And one of the things we talk about at the Global Leadership Academy is about mastery, and that whole 10,000 hours of practice. You sort of want to get that 10,000 hours going prior to the moment you get that promotion into the managerial job, and you've yet to actually exercise any sort of leadership or negotiation. So part of that is, even if the schools were to fully cover that for, say, the 4-year degree that you're doing, I mean, you're still going to be cut short of what it really takes to build up mastery within a given discipline.
Absolutely. How would you look at that, Laurie?
I do think that it is a great responsibility of an education institution in today's market, but I agree with David that we can't do everything, but I think that we definitely need to be thinking outside the box from a traditional school that we grew up with. I think it's our responsibility to offer opportunities to students for, free virtual clubs, so that they can network and they can have these experiences that they need to build the soft skills. I think it's important for us to have leadership opportunities like the, Duke of Edinburgh Award, or something like integrating something. I don't know much about David's program, but from the little introduction that he gave, it sounds very interesting, and I'd love to learn more about it. But I think those, and then also that we change how we're teaching. So, for example, we should be moving away from the exam-based type education, because it's really not what the students need when they're leaving. They don't need to know how to memorize anymore, and they don't need to know how to gather tons of information. They need to know what to do with all of that information, because that information is at their fingertips. And so I think that with these changes in education, and I know, many curriculums across the world are trying to start doing this. Very fortunate in Ontario that they started a little bit early. So we started 2010 was when they made the changes. And it is difficult for sometimes for parents who grew up differently to understand what is happening. Why aren't they having tests every week? Why aren't there quizzes every week? But the truth is, when students leave high school, universities, and then employers want to know, they know what to do with the information they're able to collect.
Absolutely. It's really important to have consultants and advisors that can, of course, provide information to the prospective students. And that is actually where I think the agency comes in, because as the education provider can probably not always be that one-stop shop, giving the full portfolio of education opportunities and programs and extracurricular activities. This is what an agency can actually do. They can put a program together, or they then can be that one-stop shop because of the partnerships that they have with an education provider, with an online learning provider, with a summer program organizer. So probably it is an important opportunity and role for agencies here, Courtney.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're doing something similar. I mentioned, I don't think that's mine. I don't see a note coming up. I'll mention CHI Global School, because we are working with CHI in different countries, in Brazil and in Nigeria, to implement OSSD programs. And so implementing that, the Ontario Secondary School Diploma Program. And so to implement those programs in local schools, that helps them. My apologies. I did turn off my notifications. Sorry, everyone. Someone's desperate. So we are putting those into local schools to help bring about different kind of prospects. I've lost my complete train of thought there. Sorry.
No worries. There's also probably an agency interested in how
agency. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Yes. So in terms of agency, we're working with agencies in those projects to build a complete system for students. And so not only are we implementing the Ontario Secondary School Diploma Program in the school, but the agency is working with us to support students outside of the school. So they're getting help with university applications or getting involved in different activities and extracurricular activities outside, as well as meeting with families and making sure that students are supported during their studies.
Lovely. Now, talking about agencies, a question for each of you here before we move to the second segment. We're talking about the formula to success, right? So let's say you're an agency, China, Nigeria, Brazil, wherever in the world, and you are providing very valuable advice to families who are, of course, making that once-in-a-lifetime major decision of sending their kids overseas, which is quite a costly experience. if they were to add any specific skills program, David, I'll start with you. Which program is, let's say, the most valuable to add to an international education experience?
I mean, that's so when we work with our partners and we have these sort of initial conversation about where we fit in their portfolio of offerings, you know, we are an English program, but we're not an English learning. We are a leadership soft skills development program. And so where does that fit? Is that a gap that they need to fill, or do they already have maybe that covered in some regard? So we work that out in sort of our initial process, and we make that they're not working for us, they're working with us. And so for the partners that we do end up working with and doing, you know, being part of their portfolio, we very much sort of mutually fit each other's needs.
Right. How would you respond to that, Laurie? What is like the most appealing additional program to add to an international education experience? Oh, muted again.
My experience, I mute it so that my puppy can't interrupt everybody. But
also add to the soft skills.
Yeah, so I think that the best feedback we've had so far has been on our virtual clubs, because, so for example, we have a mental health awareness club that students can join, and they, you know, and all of those things like the emotional intelligence and all those skills that students do need, that they would not necessarily learn online. They can. Another example is, you know, opening up their portfolio to things that I believe should be at the cost of the school, because I think it's so important, is, you know, having them be able to experience math competitions at different institutions like the University of Waterloo, the American math competitions, so that they can, one, experience it, two, add to their portfolio. And so things like that, and I think I mentioned the Wharton School of Business Investment Challenge, which I always mention it just because it was just such an amazing opportunity for our students this past year. We had students from 10 different countries working together as a team, and it was just incredible to see them work over the 6 months to do it together. And they all got to know each other. Everybody was so sad when it was over, and, you know, and they were also in online classes together in different countries. So I believe it's our responsibility to do that. But if there's one that's most important, I don't know which one it is. I love the idea, again, about what David mentioned about the leadership, and I would love to explore that for my school as well. But yes, that's
right. But the one you would mention?
The one I would mention is, I think that the emotional intelligence, the critical thinking and innovation are really important for students.
Right. So Courtney, you had most time to prepare for this question. What's your?
My notifications have stopped. I would say, so, I mean, David's program, I love David's program, worked with him for a long time. And I think the leadership skills are extremely important for students. And I've seen the students come out of that program, different people. So I think that any sort of program that helps students to develop leadership, communication, but as well as focusing on a certain product or project is important. We're also working with St. Edmund's College at the University of Cambridge. So we're working on leadership programs with them as well. And so those will be delivered online. So I think with the online component, students from around the world can gain access. And not a lot of students can go to the University of Cambridge, I must say, myself included. And so online programs can help students worldwide get access to different programs that they might not be able to get in person.
Right. So leadership, emotional intelligence, critical thinking. Courtney, you said the word I was looking for, communication. And that brings me to the second segment. I'll explain why. Every year, the Graduate Management Admissions Council, GMAC, surveys more than 1,000 corporate recruiters across 30+ countries to see what employers want from business school graduates now and in the next 5 years. And despite changes in industry and innovation, one of the most consistently top-rated skills is communication. So I'd like to understand from our audience, to what extent do you agree with the GMAC? Do you agree that communication is the most important skill? Obviously, there are many skills to consider, but we're curious about your feedback. And again, as everyone is responding, now it's time for our next promotional video, this time by Powerful Youth.
I think anything that assists youth into finding a role where they belong is helpful. So whether it's leadership, whether it's finding their goals, whether it's finding a road that they can follow. As parents, we tend to know where their gifts lie. It's for them to understand their strengths and where they can take them and to do something positive, not only for themselves, but also for others that surround them.
So far at Powerful Youth, we have been working on a design challenge, which is like a passion we have with a purpose, and we're gonna create something to make a change for the world. It has been scientifically proven that drug addictions can stop if you're in a really good environment. So I am making a mental health clinic.
So the Design Challenge prototype is a project that participants work on using the design thinking model. We work on things like having the participants get inspired. So what are other youth doing around the world that are making a difference? We look at empathy. What might some global issues be, some local issues, and what do they really care about? We look then at how they can take their passion and try to make a difference. So that's where they start to build the design thinking prototype.
My name is Kyoko Sasaki. I'm from Japan. My name is Fernanda and I'm from Mexico.
My name is Isaac. I am from Canada.
My name is Ativa. I'm from Hong Kong.
I've learned a lot.
I really have a good time here. I don't want to go home.
That last sentence, that says it, right? I don't want to go home. David, a lot of energy in there, leadership, learning, fun, service, creativity. Tell me a little bit more about Powerful Youth and especially where people can contact you for more information.
Yeah, so again, Powerful Youth started back in 2014 with the premise of, wanting to do something short-term, high impact in education. And what was the fundamental thing that myself and my co-founder believed, and we believe that all youth are fundamentally powerful, that they want to be doing something other than being on their cell phones and, doing other things that, may not be, adding to their future. And so, what we found was it was about confidence, leadership skills, and global perspective. Those were the three fundamental, sort of tenets that our curriculum revolves around. And so we designed the Global Leadership Academy as a 2-week intensive program, starting with high school students. So we have a senior academy and a junior academy. The senior academy is for high school students and is very experience-based, project-based, and getting students to learn about the fundamental tenets of leadership skills, but getting to apply them constantly. Experience-based education. This is the summer. This is not for credit. So the only way that we can really truly get these students to work from 8 in the morning until 8 plus 10 o'clock at night on these projects, right? You saw them, designing a drug rehabilitation clinic. They're doing that because they want to do that, because there's something they're passionate about. And so that's what the Global Leadership Academy is premised around. So we have the senior program for high school students. We have the junior program, which is for middle school students from ages 12 to 14 from all around the world. And it's all about putting everything into practice, because the point of our program is that it is only 2 weeks when it's the summer program, but that we're trying to get them the skills and the courage to build something for a lifetime, which is the prototype model, or the dream project, which is where by the end of the program, they're going to pitch an idea to us of a fundamental change within their community with SMART goals that they're going to execute when they leave us and when they go on to actually demonstrate their leadership skills. And we follow up with coaching online with them to support them to execute these dream projects.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I didn't know that developing leadership skills could also be so much fun. And I did also notice one single mobile phone in that video. So they seem—
No, our measure of success is how many mobile phones get forgotten behind, as they go on to the next activity. That's my metric.
before we go to the poll, David, how can our audience reach you or contact you?
Oh yeah, so you can reach us at you can reach us online at www.powerfulyouth.com. You can also reach out to info@powerfulyouth.com, and either of those methods, get a hold of us. Look at the programs that we have. We also offer custom in-country programs. We've worked with a variety of different institutions, like the Thai Ministry of Education a couple of years ago, and other places around the world, where we've gone and done 3, 5, 7-day workshops where we've done pieces of sort of leadership fundamentals.
Excellent. Well, obviously, lots of options for our audience to choose from. I'm going to move to the results of the poll, and the question was indeed, does our audience agree with the fact that communication is the most important skill? That's a really good result, because I would imagine there are so many skills to consider, but obviously communication is indeed key and important. Communication is at the base of us working together, of creating partnerships, synergies, etc. So, David, I'm sure you're not surprised by this result.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised, but I also want to emphasize that, and we do this with our students as well, is that again, it's a portfolio, it's a tool belt of skills, right? You can be an incredible communicator, but you also have you have to have something to say, right? You have to be able to back it up with some critical thinking and good decision making, some self-management, that sort of stuff. Because right behind that, in that GMAC survey, if folks are really interested in knowing what employers are looking for, and thereby colleges, right behind that are things like data analysis is considered to be one of the highest trending things that all students, regardless of industry or interest, will have to be getting into. Interpersonal skills, and low on the list are like administrative tasking, right? And sort of being able to do that. I mean, those are necessary evils, but yeah, I'm not surprised. But again, I'm also, it's part of a portfolio of skills that you want to be developing, regardless of the field of discipline of study that you're looking to go into. Yeah. I remember a really famous math faculty who mandated that their students do like a writing course in order to be able to communicate their ideas, that it wasn't just about math, but it had to be integrated with a writing course.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that administrative tasks are very low on the list. Well, the good thing is that is exactly where automation, digital solutions, and artificial intelligence, of course, come in. So it's great that can then be taken over, whilst we as human beings focus more on the communication skills, strategy skills, emotional skills, and partnership skills, and many more. I'm sure you could list there. Now, with what specific resources and support should schools and companies provide to students to help them boost their college application or even CV profile, David?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually worked in the career coaching world for a bit, and worked as an associate director of career advisement for MBAs at the University of Buffalo. And one of the fundamental things that it always comes down to is it's not job experience or bust. And I think Courtney had alluded to this, like things like volunteering are a very low cost but high benefit way to improve your CV, as long as it's something that you can explain to someone why you did XYZ, right? So one of the things we've done is during the Global Leadership Academy, we do very intentional service learning, where we'll have them go to the Surfrider Foundation, which is about cleaning up the world's oceans. There's a really great backstory to that. But then what they'll do is they'll go out, like Surfrider does, and go stand up paddleboarding, which is fun. But then they'll collect water samples, and then they'll go test those water samples, and they'll go back to the facility that then reports that to the province, and get to see sort of the full circle of what that is. So that's a story that you could put on your resume that you could articulate into value. Just going out on the street and picking up trash, though helpful, may not be the story that you want to be telling to an admissions officer down the road. So one of the things is, it has to be intentional. It can't just be more for the sake of more. And I think that's one of the things, as I talk to our agent partners and our school partners, where do we fit? What is it intentionally that you're looking for them to get out of this? A longer resume is not a better resume. A resume that is cogent and sort of focused and sort of having a star of success within a certain area, that's better.
Yeah, quality over quantity, of course. Now, I'm always I'm almost tempted to sign up here, David. Now, another question it's really interesting and attractive and great to see all these examples. But now, recent studies, and this is a question that I'd like to ask each of you. Recent studies have shown that students both at the secondary and post-secondary level are not acquiring, as we've discussed before, the soft skills that they need for a successful career. Now, you've given examples of programs that students can do before their studies or during the summer or after their studies, but what sorts of activities can students do during their studies, both in high school and college, to better prepare for their future career? David, I'll give you the last round. I'll start with Laurie.
Sure. Well, for example, community service is a great thing for students to, in the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, it's actually mandatory that students have 40 hours of community service to earn their diploma. And that's a great way, part-time jobs, public speaking, team projects. The project we do, most of our assessments are project-based, and part of that is because you do learn all of those soft skills when you're working with a team. Giving students roles within that team. So we've all had experiences, I'm sure, in school where you're doing a group project and you do it all, or somebody doesn't do any work. So and navigating that, mentorship programs. We do have a virtual co-op program as well, where students can get mentorship and do this for credit. So those are also excellent ideas.
Excellent. I like your example of the group project where you do it all and some others don't do anything. Luckily, in this webinar, we're all contributing to this webinar, including our audience. And I'd like to remind everyone to share your questions with us via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'd really like to hear from you as well. Courtney.
I'm my mute button. I want to touch on something that David had said when he was speaking and telling us about Powerful Youth, and that was how students were working from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. because they were passionate about what they were working with. And I think that's a really important point, to have both, productivity at high school level or university level or in our careers, is to be doing something that elicits some sort of passion in us. And that's where agencies and, companies or service providers like Educate Online can come in handy in talking to students and trying to find what that passion is. And our team calls it the superpower. So what is that student superpower? So we actually do keep note of that. And so in doing that, we do try to find different programs that will complement that, which of course then drives their work ethic, which is another great soft skill, into being more successful, I suppose, in everything they do.
Superpowers indeed. David.
Oh yeah, clearly, any of our programs, Laurie, Courtney, and I, we feel really passionate that we fit into that portfolio of success, obviously. But I think it's wonderful, Laurie, that you're mentioning extracurriculars, the Duke of Edinburgh. There's many. Courtney had mentioned a hackathon for Uber. There's any number of opportunities out there, contests, competitions. That it's not about winning. It's about actually going through the process of learning. Of doing that and then putting it on your resume. The winning is not what you're going to talk about. It's going to be the process of what you did in that. And the same is, there's a lot of things that I think students don't consider, like, hey, start a business, write a book. If you're an artist, why are you waiting for your gallery at 40? Do it now. And that's what we've done at Powerful Youth is okay, so if you're interested in photography, how can you turn photography into something for good? And so we had one young lady who was doing photography, and then she decided to do a gallery at her school, but she wanted to then sort of connect it to herself, and she herself was an orphan, and so she wanted to actually sell the proceeds of the gallery to the orphanage that had helped her to find her family. And it was there was a whole story, right? And it was doing something with a purpose that was meaningful to them. And so I think that there's that those are a little bit a bigger lift, but I think organizations like ours help students to find that additional thing, that extracurricular thing that may or may not be already pre-set up for them.
Yeah, that's a very good point to make. And of course, I think the bottom line is be active, be engaged, and find out what you enjoy doing, and then you can find the programs that fit that, right? And that can even you can enjoy that and then be more successful during your studies and of course after that. I'm going to move to the third segment, and that's more about how online learning increases access to higher education. A recent article actually in the Washington Post states indeed that online courses increase access to higher education. And I'd like to know from our audience, to what extent do you agree with the statement that online courses increase access to higher education? And again, as the audience is responding to this poll, I have another video.
Are you looking for a trusted and experienced online high school where you can earn credits or upgrade your marks? You can learn at home or with one of our partner schools. We are proud and excited to be Ontario's leading Canadian and educator-owned online provider, with over 20 years of experience in the online education industry, delivering and developing unique, creative, engaging, and exceptional proprietary online content. Canada Academy International has over 150 interactive and engaging courses to choose from, including STEM, Computer Science AP courses, Core French, a medical pathway, a business pathway, an engineering pathway, a visual arts pathway, and more. It is our mission to ensure students leave our school equipped with the tools to manage post-secondary school successfully. We hold our online courses to the same high standard as our day school courses. We take our responsibility to universities to deliver students that are prepared with a strong knowledge base and clear working strategies very seriously. We use an array of strategies and services to help our students achieve success. These strategies include differentiation of content, 24 hours a day live, unlimited high-dosage tutoring for every student, constant communication between staff and student, and a collaborative calendar built uniquely for every student to keep them on task. Any school can deliver curriculum, but it is our unique delivery strategy that makes us the #1 online school in Ontario. Sign up today, create your own schedule, and get 24 access to our Canadian-trained teachers, and reach a live online Canadian-trained tutor for free high-dosage one-on-one tutoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To learn more and to see why thousands of domestic and international students have chosen to learn with KAI, visit CanadaAcademyInternational.com.
Excellent. So, Laurie, high dosage tutoring, unique delivery strategy. There's a lot in that video as well, of course. Great points. Which ones would you like to highlight especially?
I think that just a little background, like I actually started this because my own children needed it. So my son has what's called apraxia, severe dyslexia, but really bright. And I know all moms say that, but he needed more differentiation of content. And I knew I had a passion for ed tech, that there were things out there. And this was back, he's 21 now. So this was back quite a few years ago. And I knew that there were things that could help him. And now, we're in 2023, and there are just amazing opportunities for students of all different learning styles. And many schools have grown with this and are doing it. And then others are just kind of catching up. And so I think with the online school, that's one of the benefits that I've really noticed with my own children. And then with many thousands of children over the years, is that with us adapting to students' learning style and having content that's very easily differentiated, students are able to be successful. And they're able to leverage those, the ed technology that's out there and that we provide to the students to be able to meet what they're able to do. And I always say to students, we get a lot of students actually with learning disabilities. And I always say, with a learning disability, you are, right now you're performing here, but everything shows you should be performing here. So you add in the high dosage tutoring. Now they're here. You add in the ed tech, being able to use voice to text and text to voice. You add in the constant communication with your teacher. You add in all the, being interacting with your peers, and now you're up here and you're performing where you need to be. There's just so many unique things that online learning gives students opportunities for, global exposure, flexible learning, personalized learning, and tons of different things. I could talk forever about it.
That's a luxury problem, because there's so much to say about your programs. Of course, I really like how you mentioned that also pupils with disabilities, they get, of course, your support. They get personalized programs, personalized calendar, a lot of support and tutoring, personalized calendar. Where can our audience reach you, Laurie, if they would like to have more information, or where could they go?
Sure. So Lori, Lori, at kaiglobalschool.com is my email. And you can go to, we are actually changing our website. You can go to canadaacademyinternational.com, but we have rebranded a little to make it more modern to kaiglobalschool.com. So we're in the process. In 2 weeks, it will look a little bit different, hopefully more attractive to everybody. But yes, that's how you would.
Most important is that the programs are attractive, of course, and the website will follow. So kaiglobalschool.com. Let's have a look at the poll. So, do online courses increase access to higher education? Again, and a great score. We have an audience that agrees with us on everything here today. 75% agrees that online courses provide access to higher education. 19% are not sure. That might have to do with the fact that still sometimes online diplomas are perhaps not perceived as valuable as in-person. I'm sure you've had that question before, Laurie. What's your usual response to that?
I think that it's really important when you're looking for an online school that you look for some very important abilities that they have. So worldwide online education is much more accepted. Universities accept the OSSD worldwide, but they are becoming, they will look at the online school and make sure that it's interactive, that you're keeping the integrity of the courses, that you are, that students are learning in a holistic way and not just sitting reading at their computer and, and answering questions. There's many things that and I actually wrote down a couple little things that they might look for, but the accreditation, the quality of the curriculum, the extras that they offer for your child to be interactive and engaged, because you need your child to be invested. So these are all things that you can look at in online education. And I think that it's very important, even if a student doesn't do their entire education online, that they do take a few courses online. And in fact, the Ontario Ministry of Education just last year put into the works. Well, now every Ontario student has to have at least 2 online learning courses that they have to complete by the end of high school, because that's how important it is for students when they go to university, so that it's not such a huge culture shock for them. And so
a lot of, I would say that a large chunk of our lives is online, or at least hybrid. But I'd like to briefly go back to the, if I may, Laurie, to the question about the online diploma versus the, let's say, in-person diploma, I can call it like that. Courtney, we've been on this topic a few times, and actually we've seen a trend of a gradually higher acceptance of the online diploma, with the education providers or companies understanding that these diplomas are just as valuable, or at least they might be valuable in different ways, but not lesser valuable. Correct, Courtney?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not lesser. As long as, like Laurie said, they meet those standards of being accredited, which is probably the most important one, especially Canada and the US. If they're not accredited, then they might not have the same value. But certainly when applying to universities, a diploma, whether it's in person or online, will be acceptable. And actually, there have been studies done on retention rates for students that are doing online diplomas, and they're much higher because they do have that opportunity to review content where you don't. If you're in a traditional classroom most of the time, they can review the recorded lessons. So might be better prepared in actually retaining that content versus, practicing for tests and whatnot.
Yeah, indeed. Anything to add there, Laurie?
Yeah, that's a really good point that Courtney brought up, because research actually shows that when students understand the way they learn, they're much more successful in university. And this is why lots of students with individual education plans end up doing better in university than students who did not have those same struggles in high school. And that's because they learned how they learn. And one of the one of the main things that you need for being successful in an online learning situation is to know how you learn. And that's one of the first things we do with our students, is we figure out what is going to work for you. These are the tools that we can give you. Which ones do you want to use? And so by the time they finish high school, they are very adept at knowing what they need to be successful. And so I think that's why there's a bigger retention as well with online learning, is because students they don't feel like they're struggling as often.
Excellent. Now, you may be wondering what happened to the Q&A, but I've had a glance at the questions so far, and most of those questions were actually answered throughout the webinar, or very much in line with the questions I have asked. And with the final minutes of this webinar on the clock, I'd like to have a final round of a final observation about this formula to success that makes students more successful in their future careers and in their CV. Anything you'd like to add as a final word, David?
Yeah, I think when, whether you're an agency, an educator, administrator, I think the general process is, the question is, do we look inward, outward, right? Divergent and convergent thinking. I think that one part of it is we're talked a lot about what the market is looking for. And it seems like we're all sort of in fairly raging agreement that online works when it's really good and intentional, and communication skills and soft skills are really important. And so, there's a constellation of sort of the market demands. But I think we all, and what I love about what Lori, very passionate, and I'd love to learn more about, like, sort of the story of creating, the solution for your own child and then expanding that to so many others, is this idea of starting with the individual student. Even as lost as they may be, they have thoughts about themselves. They know, they have things they prefer, don't prefer. I think it's being careful not to, like, sort of jam a square peg into a round hole, and really do both sides, right? We know what is valuable on the outside, but it really doesn't matter if somebody's, artistic and interested in that facet. Then we have to go with art, and we'll have to use some facet of art in critical thinking and some facet of art within mathematics. Yeah. And I love the differentiated content. I would love to learn more about that.
Wonderful. Well, indeed, putting the student at the center. Lori.
I think that we had talked about, I think earlier, maybe it was something else we had talked about, should students have a really niche interest, or should they be well-rounded in their education? And I've thought about that a lot. And I think that it's really important to have a balanced education, but similar to what Courtney and David said, they need to have their passion. They need to have that superpower, and everybody has it. Everybody has their, I've been interested myself in ed tech for many years, in education since I was a little child. I wanted to be a teacher, and I've managed to take that. Some people might say it was, a bit obsessive, but I managed to take it and now turn it into a career that I love. And I think that if, that's going to be the way the world is going, especially because we have AI to do all those other tasks, and we need people who are passionate and have their special interests.
Indeed. Now, Courtney, Lori mentioned it again, superpower. Final words for you.
I think we're all going along the same road, and that's personalized, tailored, passion, bringing those things out in students and making sure that we're focusing on what they want. In the end, it's all about the student and their success. And there's varying ways we could do that. And I think it's important to note that each student will be completely different. And so our job is to find that superpower again, and make sure the students have the best.
Great final words. Lots of options and opportunities exist indeed for international students to enhance their international education journey. And Courtney, David, and Laurie gave us the formula to success, or at least some ingredients to that formula, because that formula, as you all said, is very different for each individual student, of course. If you'd like to dive deeper into this formula or these formulas, then do connect with Courtney, Laurie, and or David directly. Just send an email to communications@icef.com and we'll put you in direct contact. Courtney, Laurie, David, many thanks for your valuable contributions. I owe you a drink, and thank you also to our audience for spending 62 minutes of your valuable time with us. We hope you will tune in again next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.